What if I told you your greatest breakthrough is hiding where you least expect it? In my late 20s, right before I became a dad, I had an absolute breaking point. I felt lost and frustrated and just terrified for the future. But today, a few years later, my life is very different. And hear me out when I say this, but with the proper steps, your crisis can actually become an absolute blessing. You know, our breaking points can either break us or make us. And I'll promise you this, the trifecta of happiness and success and fulfillment are always within reach when we deliver on the right actions. The actions that I'm going to teach you today, they work. It's not a matter of if those actions work. It's a matter of if you will work those actions. You know, I'm going to show you 5 clear-cut principles that, if applied, will assure that your current or future breaking points turn into major breakthroughs. Here's the reality, that point of despair in my late 20s, that breaking point, it was just one of many breaking points throughout my life. You know, I'm sure that millions of people had it more challenging than I did growing up, but regardless, I definitely saw my fair share of struggle. You know, what's crazy though is those struggles, the ones that used to bring me to tears, the ones that I used to view as unfair disadvantages, actually were my greatest advantages. You know, I was 13 when my parents split up, and then shortly after, my dad moved to Western Samoa to pursue a business venture. And that left my mom with 4 kids to raise on her own. And during that time is when I saw firsthand how crippling financial insecurity could be. You know, with my dad out of the country, and my mom trying to pick up the pieces, our family went bankrupt. I had a front row seat to cars being repossessed, getting kicked out of houses, you know, food in the pantry dwindling. Financially, we needed help. But listen, I'm not telling you a sob story. I'm telling you how that experience turned out to be my most significant advantage, and how my mom, who was an absolute badass, turned breaking points into breakthroughs. And don't get me wrong, it sucked, right? It was hard. I miss my dad more than anybody would probably ever know. But a couple of critical things happened throughout all of this that ultimately changed my identity, which then ultimately changed my life. You know, before I had ever read a book about mindset or the power of positivity, I watched my mom use both of those things to absolutely transform our lives. You know, the mindset principles that my mom taught me have had a significant impact, which is why I consider her the greatest influencer or mentor of my life. She could have played the victim and nobody would have faulted her for it, but it's not in her DNA, which brings me to principle number 1. Principle number 1 is focus on the next step. My mom once told me, okay, she said, in the beginning after your dad left, just pulling myself out of bed in the morning felt daunting. I found that if I dwelt too far in the future of how, you know, we would get through this or that occasion, I would feel such fear that it would debilitate me. But she said that she soon learned that if she just took little steps at a time, somehow we got through even the most daunting occasions in life. My friends, we have to take those daunting situations that are in front of us, that are about to break us, and to find the next actionable steps that we can take. Then we have to rinse and repeat. And that brings me to step number 2 though, or principle number 2, because life is meant to be so much more than just getting by or surviving, right? Principle number 2 is to find purpose. Purpose is defined as a goal or an aim that transcends selfish ends. I can't imagine how mentally and physically exhausted my mom had to have been at times. But if she was, honestly, I never knew it. Like, she didn't just put one foot in front of the other though. She did it with a smile. In the darkest, loneliest, and most difficult times of her life, she found a way to happily put one foot in front of the other. How she did that? Well, in short, she found purpose that was greater than herself. She said, when I couldn't do it for myself, I did it for my kids. The significance of what I just laid out for you, what my mom laid out for me, it's monumental. You know, through that experience, my mom taught me one of the most important success principles in existence. And that is, when your current situation is causing debilitating fear or anything similar, you can change your perspective to something that does the opposite, to something that makes you smile, something that motivates you, something that's greater than yourself. And then you put one foot in front of the other. Most importantly, she taught me that by doing so, you will not only survive, but you'll come out stronger, better, happier, and more fulfilled than you ever were before. My mom, by deciding to do those things in the darkest, loneliest, most difficult times of her life, my mom not only bettered her situation, but man, she bettered the situations of everybody around her. And because of how she decided to better the situation, she'll forever be my hero. How different would my life have been if she wouldn't have done anything? You know, I'm so grateful that she loved me enough, y'all, to get out of bed. So my question for you is, who needs you to get out of bed? Principle number 3 is search for problems to solve. You know, happiness is found by overcoming problems, not avoiding problems. My mom helped me understand how to be happy regardless of my circumstance, but those things, you know, that happened are what led to me changing my circumstances. You know, why my mom helped me understand how to be happy regardless of circumstance, which is awesome, I wanted to better my circumstance. So to better my circumstances, I needed to understand how to solve problems. And that was a journey that took me a long time to figure out. In fact, it was at that breaking point in my late 20s that led to this breakthrough. The breakthrough that problems are literally an indicator of potential progress. In fact, the most successful people that I've ever studied have the ability to look for opportunities to solve problems. And problems will always exist in our lives. Consciously, we know that, right? But we all kind of have this fantasy that one day they just won't exist, but they will. So if they'll always exist and solving those problems will lead to progress, how powerful will it be when we learn to actually enjoy solving those? Which leads me to principle number 4, which is to ask better questions. Dallas Pruitt, my mental skills coach, says the quality of our questions will determine the quality of our life. Ask better questions, get better results, right? So instead of asking things like, man, why is this happening to me? Or why is my life full of problems? I was taught to ask better questions. Things like, what are the great things that are going to happen when this problem is solved? Or this is the one that gets me. Whose life is going to be better when I solve this problem? That last question is monumental for me because, and honestly, I'd probably say for most people, and it's because this, notice how you feel when you do something kind for somebody else, like solve their problem or solve a problem. You know, as soon as we turn our attention around and remember other people, we immediately begin to feel more balanced and more fulfilled. It's a small shift, but it's a monumental change, which brings me to the last principle, principle number 5, which is to stop self-sabotaging. Here's where this breakthrough part comes, my friends, okay? A little over 7 years ago, I found out that I was gonna be a dad. And that was monumental for me because the only thing that I ever knew that I wanted to be was a dad. This is the only thing I ever knew I wanted to be. So when Britt, walked out of the bathroom with this pregnancy test in hand, and I had no idea that she was in there doing that, and then I saw those two lines, dude, I couldn't believe it. I immediately just tears of joy. But that night was a different story though. Those tears of joy turned into panic, dude. I was terrified. Not because I was gonna be a dad. Once again, that's all I knew I ever, wanted to become. That hadn't changed. I was terrified because despite my best efforts, I had no time, I had no direction, and I was more lost and unfulfilled than I'd ever been before. I sincerely began to believe that it might be just impossible or unrealistic to have a high-level business and to become a high-level dad and husband. The good news is though, I definitely had purpose. I had a purpose that I had defined, and because of that, I was relentless in finding a way to put one foot in front of the other. The bad news, life can be a son of a bitch sometimes. If we don't understand what's causing the problems, we can self-sabotage even without even realizing that we're doing it, which is exactly what I had been doing. I found that the more clear I got about my goals though, and the harder that I worked towards those goals, the more the world conspired to help me achieve them. As soon as I started to realize that and started to learn how to control the conversation that I was having with myself, which is the most important conversation, I was able to stop self-sabotaging. I used to let fear and doubt and uncertainty just control my life. Because I felt stuck, I stayed stuck. And even more tragic, I worried that my family would believe that they were destined for the same reality. That motivated me a ton. Learning how to take ownership, solve problems, and focus on serving others, it changed all that for me. Allowing myself to get out of my own way and taking ownership helped me move from victim to creator. So to recap those steps for y'all, number 1 is to focus on the next step. Break it down into the next actionable step. Number 2 is to find purpose, something that brings meaning that's greater than yourself. Number 3 is to search for problems to solve. Don't run from those things, man. Search for them and solve them. Number 4 is to ask better questions. Once again, how is this going to help somebody, even yourself? And then number 5 is to stop self-sabotaging. My toughest breaking points have created my greatest breakthroughs. Breakthroughs that have allowed me to find meaning and a way to run a high-level business and be a high-level dad and husband, and ultimately live the life that I do today. Once again, I don't say that in a prideful way. I say that in the most grateful way possible. You know, these principles work. Growth isn't easy, but it's certainly possible. Anybody can think big, that's the easy part. But very few people have acquired the right tools and strategies to start small and then deliver consistently. That's what we want you to be able to do here. Here on the beautiful island of Maui, we have a saying that I want to leave you with. It's called Imiola. Imiola means to seek life. Okay, it encourages us to search for the best life that we can create, you know, on this life's journey. Imi literally means search, seek, look, even hunt. Ola means life, health, well-being, living. Imiola means that we search for the best life that we can create. We do that by using our skills and our knowledge and our talents. We create the lifestyle that we desire, and then we serve others along the way. Because service, after all, it's the greatest acts that we can perform on this life. Those who live Imiola are constantly seeking improvement. They are always wanting to be their best selves, and they're those who are willing to do what it takes, turn breaking points into breakthroughs. Because when we work towards our best selves, we'll not only bless our lives, but we'll bless the lives of all those around us. Aloha, my friends. All right, if you've been watching this video and you've been thinking to yourself, I have hit a breaking point, but I don't know what my purpose is or how to find it, you need to watch this video right here. This video will help you understand how to define your purpose. And I'm going to tell you that is the key ultimately to breakthroughs and changing your life. So watch that video. Also like and subscribe and let me know that this video helped you. Or if it didn't help you, let me know if it was shitty too. I'm okay with that, okay? Like, subscribe, and damn it, share with your friends as well. Aloha.